Hey book community. So it's been a little while since I've done a booktube video, at least a little bit longer one. So I'm going to try to get back to that today. This is what I read in August. Usually I try to split that up a little bit and do 2 videos, but I wasn't able to do that this past month. So this is going to be one video on what I read in August. Now, I'm not really going to go in order of how I read them. I have a stack of books here, kind of biggest to smallest. I'm going to pull from the top. So this is Summer Night by Jim Butcher. Now, Summer Night is the fourth installment of the Dresden Files. Now, 1 through 3, I was kind of mixed on in my enjoyment of it. It was okay. I liked the idea. I basically liked the story, but there were some things that just wasn't setting well with me in the first 3 books. One being, I felt like the character development of Harry Dresden wasn't what I wanted it to be, which they tell me it gets better. A little bit of juvenile humor that I feel like it just wasn't setting well with me. The way he describes women and things of that nature. So they tell me that gets a little better. Hopefully it gets a little better, but it wasn't as prevalent in Summer Night. But also just the character development in that you learn more about Harry. It goes deeper into Harry himself, into his personality, into his character, as well as the way other people around him see him. The story really picked up in a big way. This is probably the starting of me loving the Dresden Files. At least I hope it is. I love this one anyway, and they tell me it gets better from here. So that was a book that I read this month. Then I'm going to move on to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, absolutely didn't plan on reading this. In fact, I didn't read this until pretty much the last day of August. I just picked it up, kind of a mood read. It's been a year since I read the series for the first time, and so I picked up Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and just immersed myself in the world. It was a good pick-me-up from the month. A quick read, an easy read. I don't have to tell you all about that. It's a classic as far as in fantasy literature goes, at least I believe it is, and it was just a fun read. I enjoyed it. Sometimes you just have to go back to Hogwarts. Next is No Heart for a Thief by James Lloyd Doolin. I wish the camera would pick it up better. I don't know that it will. But anyway, No Heart for a Thief by James Lloyd Doolin. It's a beautiful cover and a beautiful book as far as what's on the inside. I put out a short review of this week, or this past week, and I can't tell you how much I love this book. There was a little bit where I struggled, thinking about it. I don't know if it was so much the book, the writing, as it was me. I put it down for a week or so, and I picked something else up, and I finished another book. I came back to this book, and I enjoyed it. So maybe the little struggle that I said it may have had something to do with the backstory, and not just the backstory. I love backstories, but it was going from one character's past to his present, to his past, to his present, as he was telling the story, kind of a story within a story. And I thought I may have had trouble with that, but I'm not sure if I did. It may have just been me, and I needed to stop reading it for a few days to read something else. But anyway, a story of a teacher and a student, kind of reluctant student, overcoming great struggles as far as the strong coming against the weak. You could say it may have been a cultural commentary, but anyway, it was wonderful. And I've already started the second book to this series, and I'm going slowly through it, but I'm enjoying it so far. Next is The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is the 5th installment of the book to the Realm of the Elderlings. It's the second book of the Live Ship Traders trilogy. And I'll say my favorite book that I've read by Robin Hobb so far. Just, again, the character work is there. You get to know the characters. It's a very, very thick book. So you spend a lot of time with the characters anyway. So good character work, great story. I didn't realize how much I needed to be spend time out on the water, on the sea, with the pirates and sailors, and hearing from live ships. ships that can talk and think and all of that. So it's a wonderful read, and I'm anticipate Ship of Destiny finishing up this trilogy. Then I'm going to tell you about an audiobook I listened to, which was The Ritual by Adam Neville. I have an app called the Scribd app, and on that app, of course, you pay for it monthly, and they have a lot of audiobooks as well as ebooks on there. And I listened to The Ritual. Creepy, atmospheric. You're lost in the woods. At least the characters are lost in the woods with each other as 4 friends going on a trip, and they're being chased possibly by something, hunted by something, and then there's a twist. And I'm not going to really talk about the twist that comes probably a little more than middle ways through the book, but just it was again what I needed at the time. I enjoyed listening to it. And finally, and again, there are some other books I read throughout the month, but didn't quite come under maybe nonfiction or even Christian nonfiction. So the book that I started off the month with, in fact, I ended July with this book, and I started the first week or so of August with this book, and that is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. And all I can say is probably one of the best books I've ever read. Definitely one of the best books, if not the best book I've read this year. You've heard other people say this. This doesn't just come from me. Nothing happens in the first about 200 to 250 pages in the book. Nothing happens. They're in one location, a few characters, and they're just talking. They're ragging one another. They're having a good time. Some are not having a good time, but you really get to know them. And even though nothing happens, usually when nothing happens, you may get bored. I did not get bored with any part of this book. I grew up watching the miniseries. There's 3 movies. I believe it's 3 movies, maybe 4. I don't remember. But anyway, there's movies, a miniseries about this particular story, and very faithful adaptation. I didn't know that till I read the book, but very faithful adaptation, with the exception of the internal monologue of the characters that you only get in the book. That's why the book's better. Books are always better to me. Very few times I've seen where that's not the case. Anyway, follows these cowboys, 2 older gentlemen, Gus and Carl, who were former Texas Ranger or Texas Marshals, U.S. Marshals. Anyway, they decide they want to take cattle all the way up to Montana from Texas, and they do that. They set on this journey. It's an epic journey. This is the most like a fantasy that's not a fantasy that I've ever read, just because there was no fantasy elements, just the epic nature of it. You felt like you were journeying from the Shire to Mordor. That's what the journey felt like, or at least was reminiscent of that to me. So if you haven't read Lonesome Dove, you need to make plans to stop whatever you're reading, take a pause, read that if you think you would be into that. If you don't think you would be into it, you at least need to give it a try, because, again, one of the best books I have ever personally read. I can't recommend enough. 10 out of 5 stars. 100 out of 5 stars. Wonderful book. So that's what I read in August. What did you read? What are you reading that is shaping you, that you are enjoying, that's entertaining you? What did you read in August that you'd like to talk about? Until next time, go read books.